posted a picture, like they remade the trailer, the not the trailer, the poster for the movie, and they
Oh
put the
no.
original Sonic, the
Oh
original
no.
Sonic one that they released on it, and it looks so awful. Oh my god, dude, it's pretty bad, and so I wanted to burn that image from my brain, but the internet will never let anything die, so it is what it is. But
Yeah, but you know what? Without the internet, we would have never got that change. And bullying works sometimes.
no, yeah,
So you
it
know
does.
what? If you want to start the show up here, I will be a full you know
Mm.
supporter of bullying now
Oh my
because
god, no! Don't do this. Don't do. You know how out of context this will be taken. No, go on. Finish your little thing. Go ahead. I'm just gonna let you hang yourself. Go for it. Future
because
Montrell. I
without
can see the Kotaku article now. Montrell Rice supports online bullying.
because without online bullying, man, we would have never got Sonic the Hedgehog, which
Yeah.
was, by the way, the last movie in theaters before
Mhm.
everything shut down. So it was
Mm,
super weird seeing Sonic the Hedgehog posters at like AMC. That was actually the last
yeah.
movie we saw before the pandemic hit. Remember that?
Well, I didn't go with you. No, no, no. Remember, we went to see, what was it? Endgame, maybe, with or something with DJ and
I thought we went to go see Sonic as well.
oh, no, I never went with you. I haven't seen that movie.
Okay. All right.
The reason I'm saying this is because I remember the last movie I saw. I don't remember what the movie was, but I remember after the movie we saw the poster for Sonic, and then DJ started talking about how he was super excited for it, and he hates how everybody was
Ah,
mad about it. And he was
okay.
like, and you were kind of like, and I was like, I don't give a shit. But so that's what I remember. I remember that, and then you guys went to see it, and it was actually good. Maybe, I don't know.
No, it was really good. But it's funny seeing like the promotion material out there for
For
like a
this one,
year,
yeah.
for like a half a year it was out there and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm actually excited. So but bullying also changed something else on the internet as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was a video game. I think Cyberpunk. Yeah, without that we never would got that shit like and fucking Rockstar.
Uh-huh.
Remember that? Yeah. So I'm not saying bully the devs, bully the publishers as well.
No, how about this? Bully Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, yeah, bully him.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Um, it like I guess for like an icebreaker, I wanted to put this up here. So you saw that Fortnite Spider Man, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot to put that on here. Oh yeah. So that actually I was like, damn, dude, that's like legit Spider-Man physics. They got it, unlike Avengers, which he was like, it was like the PS2 games where he would like shoot webs at nothing, and they would cling to the air, you know.
Yo, yeah, it was just crazy. I was watching it, and I'm just like, yo, this is not. Square Enix must be kicking themselves in the fucking face. Like this game's a disaster. How does
Okay, to be
how?
fair though, to be fair to the Avengers team versus Fortnite. Fortnite is a $1 billion video game, like they got money coming out the asshole, like they have so much money they could probably convince Sony to let them contract Insomniac's devs to make their Spider-Man physics, like versus, Crystal probably not on I mean, probably budget probably wasn't that small, but at this point, the budget is very small, I'm sure, to make something like Spider-Man. I doubt they have that much of their team actually working on that game anymore. So I'm sure, like, honestly, I have a feeling that Spider-Man from Avengers was made by very few people. I'm talking like sub 5, probably at Crystal. And if I'm wrong, then I guess I'll just shut up. But so I don't know. It looks bad side by side. It definitely does, but it is different situations, to be fair. So
Okay.
poor Crystal. But Montreal, so yeah, I sent this to you too. You saw that Horizon 2 gameplay from the
Yeah.
Sony promotional material, and oh boy, this game looks heavily, heavily upgraded from the first game. Now the legend himself, Suni Legend, was the one doing he did the gameplay capture. So of course he makes everything he fucking plays look good. But at the same time, if you break down the video of the little trailer they were showing on Twitter, a lot of the mechanics just take the reason I got excited about this was not only that it looked good, like stretched together, but when you take everything he did individually, a lot of the mechanics and animations and shit that were in that video were things you could not do in the first game, and that to me shows that they have heavily upgraded the combat and movement systems in this game, and that is
Yeah.
really exciting. I actually think Horizon 2 is going to be like after seeing this, I
Uh-oh.
feel like it's going to be a significant upgrade over the first game. Which
Okay, I thought you, since you're not going to say it, I'm going to say it. I feel like Horizon 2 is actually going to be a good game because holy shit, the first one was terrible.
well, dude, I read the blog post and the Guerrilla devs talked about a lot of the changes they made, and honestly, this is where the video game industry drives me a little nuts. Like I'm talking the fans and media in particular, because in that blog post, if you read it, a lot of the things that they said in there were things that I criticized the game about. You know, like when it came
Mhm.
out, and I've criticized on this show since we've been doing it. And you've said similar stuff that it's like Horizon 1 is really not that great of a game. It's good, like it's solid, but it's really only solid because of its story for me. The actual gameplay in that game is really not that great, and I guarantee you that people who play Horizon 2 and go back to Horizon 1, I'm getting the feeling that it's going to be such a big upgrade that people are going to be like, ugh, people thought this game was like good, back in 2017, because that game to me is rough. Like it it just doesn't feel like it had a fully fleshed out combat system to me. Whereas this game is going to be a lot more robust looking, and you actually will have like melee combos, and there will be a melee combat system. And the human AI looks like it's actually kind of legit now, which it wasn't in the first game. So this is why I get annoyed, because like we have these hype cycles. Like everybody loves, like, dude, it's like Horizon is like, people put Horizon on the upper echelon with like Ghost of Tsushima, which is like not even, it's not even close to Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sorry, it isn't.
Yeah.
And then to see this game, like no one's even going to talk about that though relative to this new Horizon. They're just going to talk about this new Horizon like, oh my god, it's fucking amazing. Like that's going to be the probably the post coverage cycle of this game. So I
Well,
have
to be
always felt
fair, I
like
mean,
Horizon 1 didn't get objectively kind of criticized. But
to be fair, I think, I mean, it's already over with. So, like, what else can
yeah,
we criticize about the game?
yeah,
Um,
it's fair. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, what else can we say? I mean, they're already doing improvements on the game, so there's nothing really to say about it. To be honest with you, like, I like the improvements they're doing or what they showed to the game. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or not anything
Yeah.
wrong with that. One thing I did like that I think other game companies should do, instead of having the devs play the game, get some people that actually know how to play video games. Not saying
Yeah, they'll
that
make it.
developers don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not saying that developers don't know how to play video games. They obviously know how to make them, but a lot of them don't know the exploits of their own game. If that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Um,
Or they're not physically skilled enough to pull off something like Suni Legend could.
yeah,
Because dude,
exactly.
like I was
Yeah,
saying, you watch that gameplay, dude. That is so. This is like the polar opposite of like the E3 demo where they're like slow panning around the environment, like showing you all the trees. Like, nah, he just gets right into it, does this crazy fucking combos and shit, murders like 8 enemies in a row without getting hit, and he makes it look badass as fuck, got all this like slowdown and shit in the video. Like, he knows how to make video games look good. That guy's honestly like is legitimately talented at like making games look maybe even better than they actually are.
yeah.
Because that it's just he's just good at it. So I agree. I hope to see more of this. I like he's probably not the only one capable of doing this. I'm sure there are other people. So I kind of hope game companies experiment a little bit more with that, because their own internal vision for how to show their game off is often not ambitious enough, in my opinion. Sometimes,
Yeah,
or
it's
I mean,
always really safe. Like I don't
yeah,
understand how to say it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like super
yeah.
safe and stuff.
Well, it's
So
either that or it's overly ambitious. They go too far to show their game off, and they like they like over, I don't know, like almost over promise what it is. But that's more of a strategy thing where they make demos specific to an event. Sometimes this is like a pre-launch trailer, right? Like
yeah,
this the game, we're close enough to launch that, I mean, this shit is the game. This is the game, what we saw. So
yeah.
I'm not concerned about that, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, like think about the Ghost of Tsushima like pre-launch
Oh
stuff.
man,
Remember how bad that
that
was?
yeah, that was really bad. We didn't
Yeah,
know what the game, which I appreciate. We didn't know what the game was, but it just looked like they just kept showing like assassination stuff, and they only
yeah,
showed the samurai stuff one time to the point where we thought it was just they took out all the samurai shit. You remember we said they were like, "Yo, did they
yeah,
take out all the samurai shit?"
yeah, dude.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I don't know. That's pretty. Ghost of Tsushima was pretty interesting. Not to mention, remember the trailer? You don't even play
Mhm.
that in the game. You remember the very first samurai encounter they show? The
Uh,
very, very first one.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think you play that in the game.
No,
I
that is in
can
the game. It's a side quest though.
okay.
It's what's her name? I forget her name. Lady
Oh, Lady Makaso?
something like that.
Yeah. Her
Yeah,
crazy
something like
ass.
that. Yeah,
She
but
was one of my
it's like
favorites.
the very close to the very end of her actual side quest. So
Okay.
that's what I remembered. It was really interesting because yeah, they portrayed it as like this huge betrayal, and I mean it is, but it's like it's just a side quest though. It wasn't like part of the main quest or anything like that. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's interesting. But Montreal. So something else happened. We've been talking about Halo Infinite a lot. There's a lot of controversy around this game. The campaign came out this week, but this happened early in the week before the campaign launched. There was a post by one of the Halo Infinite devs on the Reddit, the subreddit, and it's a very long post, but it kind of detailed a lot of what they've been dealing with internally in some of their decision making. But it was also kind of like it was a little bit of a reveal of this person's own insecurities and issues with things because to me, like, he kind of went a little bit too, he kind of took some things personally, which I understand. Like, also after this post happened, like the subreddit had to be shut down by the mods because there was so much toxicity going around. But at the same time, this guy was, it seems like a lot of the stuff that was happening on the subreddit was really getting to him. And I mean, what did you think of the post in general? Like, what did you take out of it?
Um uh so I'm on the fence of it because I understand where he was coming from on a lot of things.
Hmm.
One thing that I think he did say that I kind of understood was even if they gave like evidence or they gave a very brief or not very brief but a very descriptive thing of what happened with those 6 years that they were developing, it would just add to toxicity. So
Hmm.
I kind of agree with that. Like you don't need to really add that type of stuff. A lot of the post in my opinion was okay. I read it like twice. um
Hmm.
I don't agree with, I really don't agree with the playlist thing.
Yeah.
um how they were like, "Oh, we're trying to do this and that and that." I wish there'd be more upfront about that because I was reading the comments and then me and you were talking about this. I think they fully intended for a lot of those events or a lot of those playlist modes to be events. Like they didn't
Yeah.
intend for that to be that, and I think that's why it's taking so long. Now I don't know. I'm not a coder, so or I'm not a UI coder, so I don't know how long it takes to them to code a UI and then also sync that to the network as well.
Hmm.
So I imagine like you got to also talk to your infrastructure team and say like, hey, we're gonna put the Slayer playlist in here. What is it to what do we got to do to access the Azure servers to do that? And Silas gonna smack you if you get on the computer one more time. Um, but so we got that, and I don't think that's going to be. There's going to be. I mean, I think the playlists are going to come out, but I don't think that's a good enough excuse because we know, me and you know, like 2 years ago, right? 2 or 3 years ago, during mid development, they had to switch a lot of stuff over,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah, it
wonder
wasn't
what
that long ago.
yeah, I wonder what that switchover was. Um, and did it affect the multiplayer? I know it affected the campaign
Well,
a lot.
remember,
And
yeah, it was actually last year, pre-launch of the game. Remember, the game was supposed to come out in 2020, right, with the launch of the
yeah,
Xbox Series X. And remember, like 3 or 4 months, not even, it was like August or July, I think. Like they lost their director for the game, like literally the fucking director of the game, and they got a new one from. I think he was a Halo veteran or something like that. But he like they delayed the game the second that dude was hired, basically, and he was like, I'm changing a lot of shit, pretty much.
yeah,
And so I think a lot of the reason Halo Infinite is where it's at is because of that guy's addition and the loss of the previous director. Meaning that they really like, while the reason the core gameplay is so good is because they probably actually worked on that for 6 years, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like that probably didn't change with the new director. However, the content in the game, on the other hand, does that is something that you can conceivably change with a new director in a short period of time. Meaning the campaign probably is vastly different from what it was a year and a half ago. And
Which
then
I'm
the
hearing is a 10 out of 10. Like a
and
lot
then
of
the
people love the campaign.
and then the multiplayer on this at the same time also could have changed as well, like the vision for it, meaning like the fact that it's free to play now, it might not have been free to play before, and that means that the battle pass was probably added recently, and developed recently, and then the modes as well were determined probably recently. And given that if you're going to go to a free to play model, free to play models are heavily dependent on constant interaction with the game. You need to retain players, so in order to do that, I think 343 was going for an event model, that something similar to what Apex does and many of these other games like Fortnite and stuff, where you have events every now and then. And I think they wanted to use the playlists. Clearly, like Fiesta was an obvious indicator that they were like, yeah, that's probably where we're gonna be. They're gonna do these as these playlists as events, and then maybe add them permanently and maybe not. I think the thing is, I think they got they probably got caught probably got called out, and they didn't think they would be called out. Honestly, I think they thought they might have been able to get away with this, and clearly they were wrong. The Halo fan base, especially the hardcore side, is very unhappy with the state of playlists for good reason. We've talked about that already. We don't need to rehash it, but
Yeah,
I think it was a little foolish of them to think they could get away without a Slayer playlist or some of these other niche playlists, and that they could somehow turn that into content. You know, like I just are you so lacking in creativity that you have to reuse existing playlists that have been in Halo for fucking 10 or 15 years in order to have interesting events for people to play with? Like that's it's kind of a bad business model in my opinion. And I think they got called out on it. I think there's a lot of frustration probably within the development team because they have a great game on their hands, and the conversation is not around how great the game is. It's around how like lacking in content the multiplayer is. But they put themselves in this position though because they decided to launch the multiplayer on its own early on its anniversary, and they kind of put it on an island, you know. So that's gonna
yeah.
happen,
No,
you know.
you're right. Even if I think it did launch with the campaign,
Mm-hmm.
um, this would have been an issue 2 weeks from now
Yeah,
or a week from now
yeah.
when everyone's done with the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to come back around anyway. I mean, they
Yeah.
probably could have got a little bit more leeway, like development team going on the vacation and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, um,
The
to
thing.
release the game the
Yeah.
way it is,
Mm-hmm.
despite other games like having all these playlists and user customability and all this stuff like that, or community customability rather.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's crazy. And another thing I wanted to point out is that they had this issue. They say the same thing every time since Halo 4. Okay, we learned from mistakes in Halo 4. Halo 5 is going to be completely different. We learned from mistakes in Halo 5, okay, or we learned from mistakes in Master Chief Collection, or no, when Halo 4 came out, then the Master Chief Collection came out, and they're like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, we learned all our mistakes from multiplayer as far as that and Master Chief Collection. Um, and no, that's gonna be scary. I want to keep doing that. But we learned all our mistakes from there, so we got to learn from that. And then the servers went back from Master Chief Collection. They were like, okay, for Halo 5, we learned our mistakes from Master Chief Collection. For Halo 5, we learned these mistakes. And then there are more things. It's like they solve one issue and then they don't know how to correct the other issues they bring up, or they just unnecessarily make other issues.
Hmm.
Halo 5 had the same exact issue that Halo Infinite is having
Infinite.
right
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
So um the only difference is they did have a playlist. So it's like I don't know,
It's
it's
even
just really
worse
weird.
in this case, right?
Yeah, it's even
Well,
more bare bones. So
the thing that worries me about this post the most is the way this person describes how difficult it's going to be for them to just add something like a vanilla Slayer playlist. Like he they talk about it like it's like not that easy to do. Like they can't spin it up in a like in a week or
and,
two, you know?
and that's why I said I'm not gonna really comment on it because I
Yeah.
don't know the logistics of how that works.
Yeah, but
Maybe it is really tough to do that,
mhm,
or maybe it's not. I mean, maybe they're not using the old Halo system they did that
yeah.
Bungie was using. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, it's not even just the like we don't know the behind the scenes from a development perspective of what it takes to make a playlist. I mean, it's literally like some of these things feel like I mean, dude, like a Slayer playlist, like I can't why is that so hard? It's he this person talks about it here where they mention the kind of like domino effect of adding a playlist like that to like challenges and stuff like that and this it kind of gets in the inherent problem of having a battle pass where you have challenges and stuff because you need to make your challenges agnostic enough where they could apply to any game mode and they didn't really do that here with Halo. That's a big problem with the progression system so far with the battle pass in my opinion. And i it makes me wonder the wisdom of going down this path if they weren't they made it in such a way where they couldn't easily pivot their decision making because a Slayer playlist, I mean, Slayer's in the fucking game, you know? Like Slayer as a mode is in the game. So how hard is it really to just make a playlist for Slayer? You know, it's like I don't know. It doesn't feel like something that should be that difficult. I'm not talking about adding a new mode, you know, something that's not in the game. It's literally just it's a game mode you have just make it so that it's the only thing that can be selected. You know, it's a little weird that they're talking about it like it's so difficult, but which makes me wonder like is this game fucked on the back end? Like is it a spaghetti code situation? You know that we've had with other games like PUBG and Apex and stuff. Like, so I don't know. We'll see. They did announce 3 modes are coming. I think later this month or early next month. What was it? Fiesta, it was a couple other ones that were highly. Oh yeah, Slayer Free for All, which actually is I'm really excited about. That one's fucking fun, fun as hell. And then I forget the other one that they're going to be adding, but so they're working on it, and the fact that they're doing multiple at once is kind of what we talked about. I think last week that it's kind of necessary to do multiple. Like I think if they trickled out one new mode a month or every 2 months, it would not it wouldn't go over very well, in my opinion. So we'll see. But yeah. Um, one more thing happened that I want to talk about before we get into the show proper. Montrell, Nintendo. Remember the Switch Online expansion pack or plus expansion? I don't even know what the fuck it's called. Some stupid ass name where they added N64 games like Sega games and shit to Switch Online's emulator service. They made the announcement they're adding one game to it from the N64, and it's Paper Mario, which is a great game, great N64 game. However, um, I just continue to be dumbfounded at how like little effort Nintendo seems to put into making their old games available to people. You know, it it's a little frustrating, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you saw that post I put up where Path of Radiance is $3,000. to
Mm-hmm.
buy new.
Yeah.
So and that's from like that's from like some a collector or whatever the case may be. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not even the collector's edition version of the game or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
the regular version of the game. And if you want to find the regular version of the game, like open box used, oh yeah, that's gonna run you at least $200. Or maybe I think you can find it 80 to $90
Yeah.
for a GameCube game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But the reason for that is because it's not available anywhere else. And Radiant Dawn on the Wii is the same way. They're not available on any other console but those. And it's like Nintendo has a lot of games like that are just stranded on old hardware that aren't available in any way, shape, or form. And
Hmm.
it just continues to be frustrating. It's just they don't. I don't know. Like I don't. We don't need to go crazy into this, but we've talked about it. They're like the Disney of video games. This is them just continuing to be the Disney of video games. They're like here's this one game that's a really great game, but it's one game. For this service that you pay $50 a year for old games. And it's like, I mean, at this point, Switch Online is pretty robust. I'd say it's a good value for the money. Even the plus version is still a pretty good value. And I'm sure in a year or 2 years it will be a really good value, which is probably why they priced it the way they did. But at the same time, it just seems for an initiative like this for Nintendo, like you'd think there would be more push to get more games on it quicker. But I don't know. It's only the first one, so maybe the next ads will be more, but still disappointing nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right, Montrell, let's get into the show proper. So, welcome everybody. Hello to the Players Tech episode 147. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host. He hates oxtail, Montrell Rice.
Yeah, you know what? I do hate oxtail. Don't buy oxtail. It's terrible. Don't eat it.
This was like the funniest thing on my timeline the other day. It was just infecting my timeline, and I had no idea what the fuck was. It looks disgusting as hell, as all hell. I'm not gonna lie, but I did.
Good.
This seemed to be some kind of inside thing that I don't fully understand. What is it about oxtail that's so
I
offensive
don't know
to
if I,
you?
I don't know if I should reveal the secret or not.
Okay, all right, that's
You
fine.
know,
You can
you
leave it.
know.
That's fine. You don't need to tell the people. It's okay.
No, it's not that. It's kind of like a blacks only thing. But you know what? I'm gonna go for it anyway. We don't want oxtail to get gentrified.
Oh, I see. Okay, I
So that
got it.
post,
Okay.
yeah, the Food Nation post or whatever,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they were
Okay.
talking about how delicious oxtail is, and now you used to be able to buy oxtail for about $2 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Now that shit's fucking $10 a pound.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh
ridiculous.
no, that sucks.
So we all had a collaborative, all the black nationalities of the earth. We're like, we're not taking it anymore. We're gonna make sure that everyone knows how nasty it's actually fucking delicious. But we're gonna say it's so nasty and you can't eat it and it's just rotten to the core. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've
Well,
just
they
been
made
trying
it.
to.
They made it look nasty. That's for sure. It really didn't. That dish they made with it didn't look very good. But
Oh, good, because it's probably the shit. It's probably
yeah,
tastes
it's
really
awful.
good.
Don't eat it. It's terrible. Don't
Yeah,
eat oxtail. There should be no
imagine
demand for it.
imagine Justin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's say like spaghetti and meatballs is not popular, right? It's the only
Oh yeah.
Italian thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then like you know, the Americans get a part of it, right? They're like, oh man, and then like that tweet goes like, yo, spaghetti and meatballs is like great. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I am Italian, so I never had spaghetti. I'm an Italian American, never had spaghetti and meatballs. I'm gonna try it today. And then next thing you know, ground beef and like fucking pasta just skyrocketing in prices.
Dude.
It's no longer like $1 or $2 a
Yeah,
box.
my worst
It's like
nightmare is pasta costing like $5 a box or something. Like, dude, you should see. We have a whole shelf in my house dedicated to pasta in our pantry. Like
yeah.
it is just lined with boxes of pasta. So
So
the day
you are
the
really
day
Italian.
bro, the day that I have to pay like $50 for a whole shitload of pasta is man, kill me now.
Yeah,
But
so that's
we're heading
currently,
there.
yeah, that's what we're facing right now. Like
Mhm.
oxtail is crazy because it's popular right now.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I'm
s-
sorry. It'll it'll fade. It'll probably fade.
I hope so.
It'll probably fade. But all right. Well, for those of you who haven't listened to us before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. Yes, even Oxtail. And we post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, which we got 3 questions today, please send them to theplayerstake01@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at theplayerstake, and we will certainly be glad to answer those on the show. All right, Montrell. Before we get into what we've been playing, I just want to say we know the Game Awards is happening today, day of recording, which will be yesterday when you hear this. We're not covering it this week because it's happening literally when we record the show normally. It's like literally scheduled in the worst possible moment for the two of us. And unfortunately, both of us are in a situation this week where we just could not push the show back in order to do it, like tomorrow on Friday or something like that, which I think we did last year. But so we will be covering the Game Awards next week in full. So look forward to that. Hopefully, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is announced. It might be being announced right now. It might have already been announced. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. I'm being a professional. I'm not looking. So, but all right, Montreal, we got that out of the way. Let's get into what we've been playing. I'll go first. I'm still in my gaming funk, and I just decided on Sunday to just embrace the madness and the depression, and just I went balls deep on the first game that I actually started having fun with, which was it's game. I mentioned it last week briefly, but I've been playing it all week. Basically, it's called Eodor, New Horizons, and it is a freeware game that was made in like 2008. It's a niche strategy game, and I guarantee you that probably 999 people out of 1,000 would fucking hate this game to their absolute core. But I'm I'm the psycho that actually likes this game. Because it is a slow, plodding strategy game that is ridiculously complex, absurdly so. But I enjoy it. I'm having fun with it. I've kind of got deep enough in the game that I understand it a little bit better, and I'm actually starting to find success playing it. It is a difficult game. My first couple games of it, I was kind of getting my ass handed to me a little bit, and I'm kind of enjoying it a lot now. So I'm just gonna keep playing it until I don't want to play it anymore, basically. And also gotten heavily back into Apex actually this week, and having fun with that again. So that is good. We had a few wins this week. We probably won at least a game a night, probably, that I played this week. But yeah, that's all I've been playing. Montreal, what about you?
So I quit playing. I haven't actually touched Scarlet Nexus or Halo. I've been like super busy this week. You know, got some good news. I'll tell you after the show. Got some good news about my job and stuff like that. It was like minor good news, but I've been working my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also preparing for like a vacation next week. Oh, which I
Ooh.
gotta tell you, I should have told you about that. Yeah, I gotta
Ooh.
go on a vacation next week.
Oh, Montreal. Okay.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah, so
Maybe we won't be covering the Game Awards next week. I don't know, everybody. We'll find out.
no, we can still recover. We can still
Okay.
record it. We might just have to do it like a day before or something.
We'll figure
I
it
can
out.
still record from
We'll figure
home.
it out. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, or we can record tomorrow, but we can do it like an hour, like whatever. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So I haven't played. So I played Apex. I have nothing much to say about that. I'm tired of bitching about Apex. They need to fix the fucking game. They're not going to fix it because they're making too much money. And yeah, I stopped playing Scarlet Nexus because the story, you can figure out everything if you pay attention. Like I don't need to play. Her name's Kisame. I don't need to play her side of the story anymore. I know what's going on. I'm like, I don't need to play it. There may be some things that you just don't need to play it. And I don't like her gameplay style. She's more of like instead of being like a sword user, she's more of a she has floating knives around her. So it's almost like she's like a spellcaster type.
Yeah.
To do combos and stuff like that. So I'm not really too keen on her play style.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm probably just gonna skip it and not play it. I mean, I might do it if I want to platinum the game because I do have to get like all my party members' bond levels up. But I'm not sure yet.
Hmm.
So I put it down. I also put Halo Infinite down as well. Um, because I want to play the multiplayer, but I want to also get an Xbox Series X. So, um, which I had a chance to buy it today, but I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm pretty sure deals are gonna come out tomorrow and stuff like that. Um, So the main thing I really want to talk about, is the reason why I skipped all these games, is Battlefield. So I know, yes, last week I was kind of, hey, if you look at the acronyms of my shit, it's Bash, and I'm about to bash the fuck out of Battlefield.
Hmm.
So on the dot, see, BASH, yeah. Anyway, my brain's everywhere
Hmm.
because of the cats. Anyway,
Yeah. Go ahead.
so this game is actually terrible. And it took me a while to play it, and I wanted to play everything before I bashed the game. I know I already bashed the game as far as
Mm-hmm.
the demo
Conquest.
goes. Yeah, well, yeah, Conquest. I mean, that's a personal thing. I never really liked Conquest.
Hmm.
Ever since like Battlefield Bad Company, never liked it. I know it's a hot take for a lot of Battlefield veterans out there, but yeah, I just never uh liked it at all. I was a huge proponent of Rush. Anyway, that being said, I do not like this game because this game has a lot of things that are wrong with it. I already touched on it like last week. The huge issue is that everyone's finally now realizing is the enemy design thing. Everyone is finally realizing that the enemy design thing was just them being lazy. I'm ever since all that news came out last week about this game,
Hmm.
I am I do not want Battlefield to become a hero shooter. I just don't. And that's what they're really trying to push with this game. They're trying to
Hmm.
introduce it to you so they can do it in other games, which is fine. Do that in other games, just don't do it in the main Battlefield. So they're supposed to be revamping the game. We don't know when. But the game just doesn't feel like Battlefield when you play it online. You can actually play it with bots. You can play it with multiplayer with bots. So me and my friend were like doing a co-op, and we were playing like breakthrough. Like it was the bots will act as like regular players on the field, kind of like a Battlefront. If you play the old Star Wars Battlefront,
Yeah.
you can play the game with bots. You can do that, but you
Hmm.
can do a multiplayer as well, and you can get all your attachment stuff. And we were having a blast. I don't know, and then the AI is actually really good as well. So we were just having fun playing against the AI. There were certain maps we couldn't beat them on, and there were certain maps we could beat them on. It was fun as fuck. So it was really cool to have like to just see how the game is actually supposed to be played. Um, as opposed to like with players, they do just weird shit. I don't know why players do weird shit. Um, but yeah, I was just having fun playing with the game with him. Uh, but they don't have AIs on the portals, so you can't play the AI and like rush on Battlefield 3 maps or rush on
Hmm.
Bad Company 2 maps.
Hmm.
Um, and the community is like dwindling to where
Ooh. Already.
uh
Ooh.
yeah, because like when I first got the game like 2 weeks ago, there were a whole bunch of rush maps, like rush custom maps and stuff like that people were making on their servers to play Bad Company on and everything of that nature. Now I can barely find anything. And then the rush maps that do, they're only like 2042 that the host people are hosting. And those rush maps or breakthrough maps are way better than the vanilla ones. Simply because of one mechanic. You can crawl when you're down. Like almost like a BR. So when you're down, you have a chance for your squad mate to come revive you. You can crawl, like you can enable that ability. I guess when the hosts make it, you have a whole bunch of different settings and stuff like that, and you can enable that feature. On the vanilla game, you just sit there and say, "Help me, I'm dying," or "Revive me," and you just sit there. And it's kind of like the host games are better than the regular games, and it's or the community games rather are better than the regular games, which I'm glad they add that aspect to. But it's just like I don't know if there's not enough hosting or whatever. It's just like yeah, I don't know if the community's dying or not. Like it's weird because the game is in it is crossplay, so I can play with Xbox people and I can play with PC people. But it's just like I'm not finding enough games, or maybe everyone's just playing. Conquest, and I'm not really into Conquest or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going on, but I'm not really liking this iteration of Battlefield. I actually regret buying this game. I wish I could return it, but I can't. Um, yeah, because this is a really it's not done. And I tell everyone, just wait till it's on sale. They probably had the game fixed by then when it's on sale. But I shouldn't have to say that. And yeah, so
Well,
uh
man, that's a shame, dude. Because yeah, we were really hyped about this game when they first showed it.
yeah.
And isn't this the it's like another example of, don't get too wrapped up in these hype trailers, man, at E3 and stuff. It just they often are not representative of the game you're going to get, and in this case, obviously, I don't feel like this is a case like Cyberpunk where they like lied about what the game was or lied about the quality of the game or tried to obfuscate it. They didn't really. Like, the beta was a fucking mess and they kind of just took that on the chin, for the most part. So I don't think EA and DICE were like fibbing it all here, but at the same time, this goes to the point about not pre-ordering games. Like guys, do your research before you buy a game. I like don't let yourself fall victim to a game like this that is just fucking broken. Like that, it's just like, why play a game like this that's totally broken? And Dice and EA aren't going to abandon it. It's Battlefield. They're going to fix this game, I'm sure. And at some point, this game will probably be very good. I imagine. But how long is that going to take? 6 months? A year? Like, what are we talking? Like, so that's the thing with EA. To me, that I don't understand why they fucked this up with Battlefield so much. Like, dude, just delay the fucking game. Like, if the game's not ready, the game's not fucking ready. Like, why are you trying to force this into November? I just didn't get it. Like, all the feedback coming out of the beta was delay this game. Everybody was saying delay the game. And they didn't listen. They released it, and now they have a fucking disaster on their hands. And
Well, I think the shittiest part about it is we have to wait until Vincent Pella fixes the game, shit like that,
yeah,
and or his team fixes the game,
right. It had
and
to
it's
go
just
that
like
far. They had to put Vince on top of the Battlefield franchise. Now that's how big of a problem this is for EA.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. I don't know. I was talking to my friend, and he actually was like, "Yeah, like, I don't know if you tweet. He's like, I don't know if you tweeted or if you said it on your podcast or whatever, but you know, I will continue to shout this until EA or someone, maybe Vince will get it, and someone I think I want to say that Ackman said it or another Battlefield YouTuber because I know that Ackman plays Battlefield as well,
Mm-hmm.
but it was probably another Battlefield YouTuber. Um, yo, Battlefield is not Call of Duty. It's such a more pristine. It used to be rather such a more prestigious, pristine shooter. Like it wasn't Halo.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Call of Duty. It wasn't all these other games. It was its own thing. And when Battlefield came out, you knew you were going to get a solid experience, like a solid shooter, wartime experience. Like you felt like you were going to be in war when you play Battlefield. And now I just don't feel it. Like when I'm playing that game, it's such a shell of itself. And it's just it has no soul, it has no identity in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really bad, man. Like I don't know how to describe it. If you're not like a long time fan, and maybe if you aren't a long time fan, you play the game, you can probably feel it as well. Like, yeah, this just doesn't feel good. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah.
it's just weird. And I'm mad that the franchise went this way. They
Mm-hmm.
kept trying to compete with Call of Duty, and I think I really just want because I know it's not the devs, I know it's the executives, and I really just need them to get that shit out their head. Like, yo, this is not Call of Duty. Please stop
Yeah.
trying to make it a Call of Duty game.
Right.
So yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, and I think it's man, it's kind of an indictment on EA and Dice that they didn't even make a campaign for this game, and they still couldn't get this even remotely close to right. Because you would think. focusing on multiplayer, you would at least have a solid game at its foundation, right? Not buggy, feels good to play, all that. And they didn't even get that right. It's like all the issues with Halo. At least, like, first of all, at least that game works for the most part from like a fundamental level and feels good to play. And then the second thing is they had a campaign to fall back on that people are really liking. So these are two totally different situations. Like Halo to me is in a pretty good place for the most part. It's a little disappointing, like the lack of multiplayer content, but it's still in a good place. Whereas Battlefield's a fucking disaster in comparison. And it's like maybe the opposite's true. That seems like they have a little bit more content and different types of modes and stuff you can have, but who cares if none of it works? It's like, and how bad is it that you want to play an old version? You want to play the game with like old rule sets from older Battlefield games that like that's the preferred mode of play for a new game. That's pretty bad, dude. It's a nice feature to have, but at the same time, it kind of makes your game look bad when that's what the community gravitates towards rather than your current rule set for the game, So it is what it is. We'll I'm sure Montrell will dip back into this game at some point to check it out. And I'm probably going to keep my eye on it as well because I was very interested in it, but we'll let you guys know if it turns around. Montrell, are you playing anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, fair enough. Let's move into the news. So our first story, this is a big one. We've been waiting a while to hear about this, and Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, finally broke the story that Sony is indeed working on their own Game Pass alternative competitor, and it is codename right now Spartacus, and it has the key points to come out of this is that PlayStation Plus will remain. That will be the primary branding for this service. PlayStation Now is going to get folded into this service, and that name, PlayStation Now, will likely be gone. Like they will be getting rid of that branding. So I'm going to read a quote here from the article from Bloomberg. Quote, documentation reviewed by Bloomberg outlines a service with 3 tiers. The first would include existing PlayStation Plus benefits. The second would offer a large catalog of PlayStation 4 and eventually PlayStation 5 games. The third tier would add extended game demos, game streaming, and a library of classic PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. So that's the core of the service. Montrell, what do you think about that?
I've been said they should have combined PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus, so I'm glad they're finally doing it. I think my only concern is the tier system. Yep. I don't know what it entails still because we still don't have any information on what it sounds like. Tier 2 is going to be tier that you already have, like what we already have available to us. You get to play PS4 and PS3 game or and PS5 games from the PlayStation Plus collection. And then maybe tier 1 would be cheaper.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I'm going to go with tier 1 because I rarely play the PlayStation Now, like the available games they give to you. I rarely play them.
Yeah.
I think the other choice, now everything starts to make sense, but it's like, how long have we been fighting Sony on that? Like, how long have we been fighting them to, preserve their games and everything of that nature? So maybe they're finally doing it.
Yeah.
My thing is, also, we don't know, which is probably going to be 100% this. They're probably going to be stream only, and you're not going to be able to download those games at all.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not even going to ask for an emulator for PS3. I know that's damn near impossible at this point, even though they have a successful one out there. There shouldn't be any reason why they couldn't go to one of these coders that did make, the PSP, the PS Vita, PS1, PS2, those, and put the emulator on their PS5, for download or whatever the case, or make it a patch to where, so it can be just like the Xbox Game Pass, where, it's a legit emulator on their consoles. And they play these games. These games are not streamed. I think you have the choice of streaming them if you want to, but a lot of these games aren't streamed. These are like emulated on there. I really think that because Nintendo did it as well with the Mario Sunshine thing, or Mario Sunshine, the Mario All Stars. When they
Hmm.
cracked that game, they found out that it was actually using emulator code. Um, and I'm pretty sure that Xbox went to some of these devs or some of these home brewing devs that made these because I think they had a 360 emulator and an Xbox emulator out there. They probably went to them and was like, "Hey, we're gonna grab you, put us on our team, and make these emulators for us so we can get this shit on our consoles." I think Sony needs to do that. Um, I
Hmm.
just think they're behind the times. It's kind of like a little bit too late, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Um, if anybody could have did this and blown everybody out the water, it could have been Sony if they got ahead of this first. They got ahead of the Xbox Game Pass first. But um, I don't know. And I also wonder what's going on to where they felt like they needed to respond to this. You
Yeah,
know, like maybe
they're feeling pressure, dude. I
yeah,
think I
maybe
think
they feeling the
Microsoft's putting
pressure.
the pressure on them. They really are.
So
Because
I don't know.
this would not exist otherwise. Like straight up, like they wouldn't have done this unprompted. There's no way.
Yeah, and then you have to also figure out like even Nintendo's like doing some form of preservation for their old games.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It just makes sense. But to me, I'm glad they're doing it, but I really need to see the prices. Like, I really feel like tier three is going to be some outrageous $20 a month or some bullshit like that. $25 a month.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my take on this. Um, I think the first tier is just going to be PlayStation Plus as it exists now for the most part. Because that's what this article says. But the caveat here is what happens with the PlayStation Plus collection, because that is a collection of like 20 games that are third party and first party, combination of games, and there's some really good games in that collection, by the way. Um, and what happens to that? Does it just get folded into tier two, or does it stay as a part of the PlayStation Plus like base level? So I would imagine the pricing is going to stay the same if that nothing changes there. So it'll still be $60 a year, which equates to $5 a month, basically. Um, and then the second tier is going to be, to me, Game Pass straight up for PlayStation. I think it's probably going to be $15 a month. I don't think they're going to do the $10 version that Xbox does for just the console, because I don't think Sony's going to have a PC component to their version of Game Pass. So I imagine it's just going to be the console itself and then $15 a month for that. Now, the third tier is where shit gets weird, because the third tier is adding a lot of stuff to me that isn't actually very valuable to most people. Extended demos, I mean, as much as I love demos and I think demos are good and healthy for the industry, I think hiding that behind a paywall of a subscription service is the weirdest fucking decision imaginable. Like, that makes literally no fucking sense at all. Because think about this, if you're giving them extended demos, some of these games might be in your subscription service. So, what is even the point of that? You know? Like, Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So, that's weird. The second thing is that they're adding game streaming as a part of this tier. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the game streaming part is specifically going to be probably the way of adding the classic library games into the service, because I don't think these games are going to be we're not going to be able to emulate most of them, and they're not going to be native to PS5 probably, or PS4, because this service is coming to PS4 as well. So that is something to consider here. So to me, I think the streaming is just there for those classic games, but I think you'll still be able to stream some of the other games in the service, like PS4 and PS5 games too. But the thing, I'm with you with the pricing. I feel like $20. That's that's probably the minimum for tier three in my head. You know, maybe I could see maybe $18, and that kind of assumes that tier two is maybe a little bit cheaper, like $12 or $13 maybe. But even then, $18 a month for what they're adding is it's not worth it. It's not a good value in my opinion. Because if I'm playing old games, classic games, and they're stream only, I can't download them. That sucks. Like straight up, that's just kind of sucks. It's not really that's not a great deal. Like for older games, it'll be fine probably because the latency isn't going to be a huge deal because they're I don't there aren't like a ton like back then games were fucking weird. They were laggy and shit. So it might not have that big of an effect. But when you start getting into PS3 games, though, that latency is going to feel bad, for some of those games. So I don't know if it'll be, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be great overall. So I think it's good to hear about this. It's supposedly coming in the spring is when it's going to be launching. So we will certainly see about that. But I think it's exciting on one hand. And then on the other, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about Sony's ability to actually compete on a content level with Microsoft because they do not have a pocketbook nearly as deep. And that means that Microsoft is kind of the one that's going to be setting the bar on what some of these games cost, to get on their service. So I don't know if Sony can compete with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really going to be hard for them to compete. Not only that, I think for some reason I'm just getting very strong PS3 Sony vibes. That's the
Yeah.
vibe I'm getting right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like those vibes. They're not all the way there yet, of course, but I think the pricing model is going to come out and it's going to be terrible. I don't think they're going to be as generous as we think. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. I still think tier 2 is going to be what our PlayStation is now, where our PlayStation Plus subscription is now. I think that's going to be tier 2. And then tier 1 is going to be a lower price. And then I'm praying that tier 3 is no longer no more than $16 a month. That's what I'm hoping. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. And then another thing too, you gotta consider is these games on Xbox. You can also play them on PC,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
we don't. That is the thing. We don't know if it's only going to be on the PS4, PS5. They may bring the PC. I mean, they've been experimenting lately, so we don't know. I mean, yeah. So we don't know.
Well,
I just wait.
because the Xbox version of Game Pass, like Game Pass Ultimate, is PC and Xbox, and that's $15 a month. And it actually often goes on sale, like the subscription. You can get, I think for Black Friday, you could get like the 3-month pack for like $25 or something, which is a really nice deal.
Okay.
For Game Pass. And so that's the thing about it is that's $15 a month. The Xbox only version, the console only version is $10 a month. Which is a lot cheaper. So that's the thing about Sony, that they like can't price themselves out too heavily because if they only allow PS4 and PS5 for the second tier and it's $15 a month, they're already behind the eight ball. They're $5 more expensive than the equivalent service on Xbox. But if they have a PC component, this is kind of why I think they might not, is it gets a little awkward to me, because first of all, how does Sony deliver those games to people on PC? That's number one. Number two is what what happens like contractually if, I guess it doesn't matter if you're distributing these games in different ways, but like if you have the same game on both Game Pass and then Spartacus, they're both on PC, available on PC. It's a little weird, isn't it? Like that feels like you're almost. I guess it doesn't matter from the devs' perspective. You're getting money from two different companies, so you're not like competing with yourself or anything like that, really, in reality. But it's just going to be a little weird though to have the same games on two different services on the same platform, potentially. So that could be weird. Maybe Sony uses Steam too. They might integrate with Steam a little bit more, and use that as their distribution method for this subscription. Because Valve certainly has the capacity to add that kind of functionality to Steam, I would think. So that could be their way out potentially. Whereas Microsoft, I believe, is using the Microsoft Store for their stuff. on Game Pass, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I mean, it's good to see. I like the competition. I just I will say, I will caution that this is a little. It's kind of a this is kind of a risky thing. The fact that Sony's getting into this is slightly concerning in the sense that the more traction this gets as an idea and the more money this starts to make, this could heavily influence the way the industry moves forward in terms of development costs and things like that. And the way, because companies don't make nearly as much money off putting their games on Game Pass as they do selling them a la carte, you know? So, and if the majority of gamers like migrate over to these kind of services and this is how they expect their games to be delivered in the future, it could have ramifications on the industry as a whole, you know? But I guess we'll monitor that as time goes on. But Montrell, anything else you want to say about this?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on. We got another Sony story. This one you said to me, and this shit is fucking wild. So this is the now former Sony, and this is from the YouTube channel People versus Preds, and they're a channel that basically they try to suss out sexual predators on their channel. And one of the latest ones they found was the Sony senior vice president who worked on PlayStation Network. They caught him trying to solicit sexual acts with a minor. They were basically pretending to be a minor on a what was the service? I don't know what the actual service is, but they were talking to him over a service basically, and they were posing as a minor. And they basically got him to meet with them, and they just straight up busted him doing that. And this guy was fired from Sony very shortly after this came out, and his name was George Jacopo or something like that. It sounds like I don't know, an Italian name potentially. But he was fired shortly after, and I don't know if we're gonna get much more about this story, but this wasn't widely reported from what I could really see, or wasn't widely talked about either online. But this is kind of fucking wild in my opinion. But Montreal, what did you think?
Yeah, I was actually surprised that it wasn't really talked about online at all. Well, not on at all, but it was kind of kept hush hush. If that makes any sense, like it just didn't
Yeah,
blow up. And this is a VP of Sony, so um,
right.
I mean they did the right thing and they fired him. So which kind of confirms like the allegations that were thrown at him, because he hasn't been convicted yet. So you have to say allegations. But there is video evidence and like a whole bunch of proof. I retweeted on my time like a couple of days ago. You have to scroll back to find it. But
Mm,
there are text messages and he even took a picture of himself, not like of
mm-hmm.
himself, but of his face and everything of that nature. And I was just thinking, how horny do you have to be? I mean, of course you're disgusting, but like you're this horny, bro. Like it
Right.
was just it wasn't a good look. And
I mean,
you
it's fucking it's fucked, dude. Like, God, man, like how deranged are you? Trying to trick minors into just situations like that, man. And I don't. It's fucking gross. It's gross. It's fucking gross. It's just wild that somebody high up at a video game company, though, like Sony, dude. This guy was employed with them. It's fucking nuts, dude. So I don't know. There's not much more to say for me on it, but I mean, Sony did do the right thing. Um, I mean, there's not much else you can do in this situation. I mean, you really just let the guy go. But then again, we've seen how far Activision's board has gone to protect Bobby Kotick. So you know, I mean, he's not a sexual predator, but I mean, he's also kind of a piece of shit and has had many, many, many horrible things kind of revealed about him in the last few weeks. So, and he's still employed. So, I guess nothing can surprise me at this point. But yeah, this guy can get fucked. pretty much. So, anything else you want to say about this Montrell before we move on?
No, I'm just glad he got fired, and yeah, he, I'm glad he got exposed because we don't know how long he's been doing this type of shit. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
All right, our next story, which, speaking of Bobby Kotick, there has been a lot of activity today around Activision Blizzard. Once again, they're in the news. Here we go. The the ABK Workers Alliance. So they are the group that is basically starting to represent many of the employees at Activision Blizzard. They are not a union, however, they are an organized body at the very least that is basically kind of taking the face. They are kind of acting as the face of a group of employees at Activision Blizzard, and um, they are they went on strike this week, and they're planning to go on strike. I think they're going to go on strike next week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But basically, they're going on strike, and they've been raising money in order to pay the people who are going on strike next week, and it will only last those 3 days. What they're going to pay out, they're basically going to try to pay out the people's normal salary, essentially, to everybody who's involved. But the other part about this is that they are actually handing out union cards for people to sign to authorize a potential union vote with this. And that is a big, big deal. We are hitting a point with this that it is this is no longer this is no longer a story where it's just about Bobby Kotick anymore, because if a union vote were to happen here, and let's just say it succeeded, I think they would need 50+% of the vote of the workers in order to successfully unionize, and I think they need 30% of the workers to want to vote on a union for the actual vote to happen. But um, let's say it happens and then it succeeds and they unionize successfully. Activision Blizzard is in a position now where not only are they hated by fans and the media, they would also suddenly be hated by everybody in the video game industry. All companies would fucking despise this company because they could potentially be opening the door for Pandora's box in the video game industry. Unionization, if a company like Activision Blizzard suddenly has a union that they have to deal with for their developers and their workers, that opens the door for everybody. And I think I think it might cause a domino effect where you start seeing this a lot all over the place in the industry. Because once it succeeds at a company like Activision Blizzard, it can happen almost anywhere because Activision Blizzard is fucking huge. They are a giant company for a video game publisher. So, Montrell, what are your thoughts on this situation?
I'm actually glad that they're striking. I'm glad that something's happening to them, or the company in general. Maybe it'll make them take the workers and the developers there seriously. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if they get unionized, I mean, I'm all for it. But just know, a lot of people, the games are going to come out slower because they're
Yeah.
probably going to have, um, limits on what you hard stop limits on what you can do, how many hours a player can or a dev can work, and things of that nature.
Well, it's all on the table, dude. Like what they can work on, how much they can work, how much overtime they can do, things like
We're
that,
probably
man.
going to see a lot more contract workers, a lot
Yeah.
more contract workers,
Right.
and that's scary. Um, so I don't know, man. Like I know we kind of beat this story into the bush with Bobby Kotick and everything. Um, it's just one of those things that at this point either has to happen or it doesn't. So
Well, yeah, we're getting close to the we're getting close to the like line of demarcation. I mean, if a vote happens, I mean, it's a lot different than just talking about it, man. I would imagine that Activision Blizzard leadership is very nervous right now, you know. Because they don't want this. They definitely don't want this. This is probably their worst fucking nightmare, actually, because getting rid of Bobby Kotick no longer solves their problem anymore. because once they're unionized, It's over,
Yeah.
they're like, you're done. You're not like, you can't just get rid of a CEO and that goes away. No, that's permanent, no matter who's in charge, right? So yeah, and the funny thing about this is they as a company cannot really do anything about this. They cannot talk to workers, they cannot dissuade people from signing cards, they can't dissuade people from voting, they can't dissuade people from wanting to vote. They can't do any of that shit legally. Like, they cannot touch any of that. So they've now fucked up so bad that they're at the whims of fate at this point. And yeah, this is fucking, like, dude, this is fucking crazy. I mean, we've talked about unionization and crunch and shit like that, throughout the show's history, but I didn't think I really didn't think it would be possible. Like, I felt like it would take something monumental for unionization to actually happen in video games, and it's like, here we are. You know, here we are. Like, Activision Blizzard has done it. They've done it, man. And I don't know. I mean, like, we're still a long way away from an actual union forming here, but the fact that we're actually this close to the attempt even being made is crazy. It's pretty nuts. So I imagine things are going to change, even if this fails to happen. I think things will change, and I do start to wonder how long Bobby Kotick really has left. I don't know how much more they can justify this guy, because he's completely ignored all the demands from the ABK Workers Alliance. He's ignored everything from the media. He's ignored basically everything from internal workers internally as well. Like, they're really not doing a very good job of dealing with the complaints or issues that have been brought up, and it's kind of getting harder for me for them to justify keeping him on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, man. They just need to get rid of that guy. And I feel like, though, even if they get rid of him, people are still going to vote for the union. There may be less people willing to do it, but I don't know. Our culture right now is so anti-union, or I don't think it's anti-union. I think it's just we've been so long without a union, a proper union, in a lot of
Mhm.
places that people are like, well, we don't really need one, so I'm not
Well,
going
we're
to
like
vote for it.
brainwashed, right? Every company you
Yeah.
go work for that doesn't have a union has that anti-union video ready to go. That, like, unions are bad, they don't have your best interests at heart, they're just there to take your money, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Which some of it's true, some of it is certainly true, but it's coming from the mouth of somebody who it's in their best interest for unions to not exist. So it has a little bit less bite, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much all I got on this one. I want them to kind of take some action and do what they need to do.
Hmm. Right. We will continue to monitor as we have been with this story. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest stories in the last few years in games. It might even be the last decade, to be frank. But it's definitely worth monitoring. So we will let you guys know the outcome if there's any movement on it. All right, our last story of the day, and this one's maybe a little bit of a meme. Ubisoft announced and has launched something they are calling Ubisoft Quartz, which is for NFTs, and they are launching it in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's the first game they're going to be utilizing it in, and they had this little minute 20 video kind of showcasing it and everything like that. And of course, it had a very negative reaction. NFTs are severely disliked right now in the public consciousness for many reasons. Some good, some not good. But Montrell, what do you think about NFTs in video? First of all, NFTs in games, and then what Ubisoft's trying to do with Quartz here.
So I think a lot of people don't understand this has already been done. They're just using a blockchain to do their transactions now, but this has
Mm-hmm.
already been done. And I mean, me and you are familiar with it because we've been on the PC consoles or the PC ecosystem forever.
Mm-hmm.
This is essentially the Steam marketplace.
Yeah.
Um, Steam already has Valve has already done this with 2 games. Um, and 2 of those games being 2 popular games rather, um, being Counter-Strike and
Dota
uh Team Fortress 2.
and
So
Dota 2.
Counter-Strike, you said what? Oh,
Dota 2 as well.
and Dota 2. The reason I include Dota because it wasn't really like it is huge, right? But like when people think you remember like the TF2 hat controversy thing,
Yeah,
where like
yeah,
hats were like thousands of dollars. And I think the
yeah.
same things for the Dota skins as well.
Yes, there are very
Um,
expensive Dota skins.
yeah, so these are actual digital assets, guys, on the Steam marketplace that you can buy for actual dollars. You can auction it off or you can trade
Mhm,
it or whatever the case may be.
mhm. Yeah,
To give y'all an example, there are whole videos of people who don't even play Counter Strike. All they do is play the Counter Strike roulette thing. That's all
yeah.
they do, and they spend tons of money on it, and they get all their money back because obviously from the revenue from YouTube and everything of that nature, and probably the skins they get. They
Mhm,
can sell those on Steam. I don't know how popular it is now, but way back in like maybe 5 years ago, I know it was super popular, like 5 or 6 years ago,
yeah,
when Counter
yeah.
Strike was still at the top, or like at the end of its life cycle of being at the top or whatever.
Mhm.
This is really before Fortnite became a thing. I think Fortnite kind of killed all that momentum.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but so this is not a thing that surprises me. I think the reason why it's getting a lot of flack now is because they associate it with the NFT, and NFTs are really fucking stupid already.
Mhm.
And but then now they're using it. They're saying NFT, and they're saying, "Oh, this is a gaming asset." And imagine you buying a helmet and everything like that. And I was upset. I'm still upset by it now because like I don't want this to become a thing.
Mhm.
I was super happy that this never became a thing outside of Steam. Super happy because yeah, you never really seen it with anyone else do this at
Mhm.
all. Even League of Legends, you don't do this. Like
Yeah.
people don't even you can't. I think you can sell your account if you have a rare skin, but you have
You
to
can't get
sell
the
your in.
you cannot get the skins out of that game's ecosystem in any way.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you have to play the game, you need to have an account. And it's the same with Steam. Like it's all within Steam. So now
Yeah, but
the money you get from selling items you can use to buy games in Steam, but it's only within Steam.
okay. So you can't get real money from that. Like if I
Well,
got like a
so
$2,000
yeah, let
skin.
me jump in real quick. So this is the difference. I disagree with you a little bit here.
Okay.
Is what Ubisoft is trying to do here is a little different from Steam because they specifically call this out is that you will be able to sell the tokens and whatever the fuck quartz or whatever it is. Uh you will be able to make actual money selling the assets from the game. Like you will be able to take it out and put it into like a bank account or something like that. That is the difference. Whereas with Steam, it's all within Steam. You cannot like withdraw money from your Steam wallet once it's in the Steam wallet, meaning that everything you sell on the market on Steam, you cannot take it out of Steam. Like it's all within that Steam ecosystem. So it is slightly different there in a way that is, I mean, it's not slight. That's a big difference. And it's more complex. The reason I think Valve hasn't allowed that is because they don't want to deal with the tax ramifications of um allowing people to withdraw money from Steam. It gets a lot more complex to run that service all of a sudden. Which is funny to say because you know, honestly, you're right. Like they've been doing this for fucking like 10, 15 years, you know, on the Steam marketplace. So this isn't like a new idea. It's just that blockchain enables it to be like everybody to kind of have their own platform, I guess, without building like a fucking Steam type marketplace for their shit, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, sorry, I cut you off. You can continue.
No. I mean, but the thing about the Steam marketplace is they're actually third party sites and stuff like that that you can sell your stuff on.
Well, Valve has significantly cracked down on those. They do not approve
Okay.
of those. If you
Okay.
sell your shit on there, you're risking your account. If they catch wind of you doing that, I'm pretty sure they will ban you. Um, so you do that at your own risk.
All right. Well, never mind then. Uh, So just to reiterate though, if I buy, because they do use actual dollar prices, right? Say if I
Yes,
buy like a
they do.
25 cent
I'm
skin.
looking at my skins right now. I have one. What am I looking at? It's like $1.90 is what it's worth. You know.
So is that like an actual real $1.90? Can you put that into actual money, or you just have to use it for Steam? That's
No, I
it.
have to use it for Steam. It goes in my Steam wallet, but you know, there. But the thing is, this marketplace is crazy though because like I have an item. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I have an item that's worth. Let's see. It's worth like total like the entire set's worth like $60. You know,
Hmm.
if I sold it, and then I have another one that's worth yeah, this one's worth like $60 as well, probably all told. Everything in it, you know. And these are just literally digital skins in Dota, you know. They're the
Yep.
only place they can be used. They can't be extracted from Dota in any way. You can't like do anything with them outside the game, you know, but they do have a monetary value within Steam that you can use. So
Okay. I thought you can take the money outside of Steam, like use it for
no,
actual real world
no,
stuff. Okay.
no. They're very
Uh,
they've been very they've been very they went on a kind of a tirade a couple of years ago because those sites you're talking about where people gamble shit off of Steam,
hmm.
specifically went after those sites a few years ago, and like shut a couple of them down, and then they had very strict guidelines about them, you know, saying that like
Gotcha.
we do not authorize you to do this with our stuff, like the stuff you're getting on our games that's on the Steam marketplace.
Yeah, because you got to get into like international tax laws and
Yep.
all that shit like
That's the
that.
reason they shut it down. They don't want to have to deal with any of that shit, you know.
Okay. And I guess for Ubisoft, in this case, the reason why it's different is because they have a cheat code, which is the cryptocurrency. It's all decentralized.
Right, which they're still going to have to deal with the legal ramifications of taxes and all that with that, but they're diving into that knowingly
Okay.
on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just think this is a real bad idea. I don't like where this is headed,
Hmm.
and I hope and pray this crashes and burns. Like I really do.
Okay. Interesting.
I I do. I really hope it crashes and burns. Because could you imagine if like if Epic gets a hold of this
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
Fortnite?
Yeah.
It's gonna be fucking terrible. And then other games, oh, like Grand Theft Auto Online. Could you
Yeah.
imagine NFT for that? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, okay. All right. I'm gonna again. I'm gonna disagree with you a bit here. So I'm not inherently. Everybody's memeing on this and is like having their fun or whatever. Which it is funny in some way. Ubisoft is of course like a fucking joke sometimes with stuff like this, and um I don't necessarily trust them to get this right. However, if you read the article I put in the chat, I'd recommend you read it after we're done recording in full because the way they talk about this, I'm not inherently against the idea of this because this is starting to put a crack in something I've had a problem with digital video game microtransactions for a long time because inherently when you buy a skin, and I'm going to use like Apex and like Fortnite as examples because you can't trade those skins in that game. There's no way to give those to other people. You can't do anything with them. Once you have them and that's it. um the whole thing with those in those games, and it's something we as a game industry like fan base, we've for some reason all just accepted, and I include myself in this. We're kind of getting scammed because these items in reality, like we spend like $10 on a skin and that item immediately goes down to $0 in value. It's like it has no value. You can't do anything with it. You can't trade it to anybody. You can't give it to anyone. The only way to make any money off it is to literally sell your fucking account. That is the only way to make any money off these things, and that is not like a sensible way to do it. Right? You're giving up everything with your account when you do that. So to me, like I hate that about digital microtransactions, especially skins and stuff like that. And the idea of NFTs, like NFTs are kind of a joke at this point because of the way they've been tried to be utilized lately. Um they like are a scam for the most part. But when we first brought this up a few weeks ago, when we were talking about Square and Ubisoft getting into this, maybe I said that I actually think there's potential here in video games because, and this is the exact reason why, is that it's suddenly all of a sudden your digital assets are actually yours. They're going to be yours. Like they're going to be tied to you in a way where you might be able to actually extract value from them if you no longer want them. You know, like if you decide, I don't want this skin anymore, you can sell it on the marketplace and you can make money and then you can take it out. You'll be able to take it out and withdraw it. You know, it's like, it's not, I mean, it's not going to be like a fucking lucrative business model for anybody. Like you're not going to become a fucking millionaire selling fucking video game NFTs. But my thing is, I don't care about that. That's not really where I think the value is, anyways. And Ubisoft literally talks about this. They don't want people like that. They don't want people who are getting into this because they want to make money. They are building this specifically to give their players value to the items they buy from their services. And every game is going to be different. I think Ghost Recon Breakpoint is probably not going to be a high octane value market. To be honest, for cosmetics, I doubt there's going to be a lot of monetary value there for the stuff in that market. But this has potential for other games though. But think about like Fortnite skins, right, that are limited time, or Apex skins that are limited time. Like think about that. Like they just released like fucking Naruto skins a few weeks ago in Fortnite. You know how much money people would pay for that a couple years from now that have never played Fortnite, and those skins are never available again in any way? Like people would probably pay more than they cost when they came out to get those skins and get access to those skins. This system allows that kind of thing to be possible, where like I buy the skin and I don't want it anymore, and then there's somebody who's like, I'll pay $30 for that skin, that set of skins, and it's like, okay, you just paid for my next 3 battle passes, bro, like thank you, you know, that kind of thing. So it's, I don't think it's inherently bad per se. I think it can be misused for sure, and I don't know if I trust video game companies as they are right now to do this properly. However, I have to give Ubisoft credit. The way they're talking about this, they actually seem like they might be approaching this the proper way somewhat, but the jury's out on that. We'll need to see it in practice, right? So
I just don't trust it. It's
yeah, I know. I understand. There's no reason
I
to
just
trust video game companies, dude. There's no reason to. There really
yeah,
isn't.
I just feel like it's gonna be the Steam marketplace, but way worse.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but it's cool for people who do have those skins. Um, but then I think they're gonna start regulating how many skins you can get. Oh, if you guys are the first, say they got another Naruto event or they have a One
Mm-hmm.
Piece event or whatever, even though I hate One Piece. Let's say they have a One Piece event.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, Fortnite does. And they're like, okay, instead of people just logging in for the event for that, 2 or 3 days or however long the event is, and then they disappear, they're gonna be like, oh, the first 100 people who log in get these skins. They're gonna do shit like that where they
Yeah.
have
Right.
artificial scarcity of the skins,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I don't want that. Like
Yep.
I like that I can still jump on Fortnite, I believe right now, and download like a lot of the dances there, a lot of the skins there. I can still download. I can still do that stuff if
Mm-hmm.
I want to.
Yep.
Um, I don't want the artificial scarcity that even exists in League.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough,
Which is
and
stupid.
they don't, yeah, and they don't do
'Cause you
anything
can't trade
near.
them or anything. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
you can gift people skins, but they don't do
oh, okay.
anything near. But you have to buy it like from the store. It's not like if you have the skin, you gift it to someone. You can't
Oh,
do
you
that.
you gift it when you're buying it. Okay.
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
it's in your cart. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I can see League doing this. I can see. I mean, Dota's already doing it. Their version of it or whatever. But I can see them like having 2 exchanges if Steam allows it, if Valve allows it. You can play with crypto or you can pay with regular Steam wallet money or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the only advantage for me is I'm gonna be looking up. I already know what the the blockchain is using, and I bought some.
Mm. Okay. Thank you
I
for
bought
thank
some.
you for thank you for disclosing that, Montreal. It's important. It's a conflict of
No,
interest.
no. If you're listening to the podcast, these game companies are going to be using these blockchains, and if I were you guys, I will look for which blockchains they're doing, and I will buy cryptocurrency in those. I will buy
Mhm.
some coins out of those things
Yeah.
because you will get dollars off those transactions. Every transaction, maybe cents, but you will get dollars. Then you'll see everything rise up. So
No, I agree. I actually think it is a good investment opportunity because I actually think this is going to be a thing in video games in a way that it won't in most other industries.
yeah,
Games are uniquely positioned to take advantage of this technology in a way that, like movies and television shows and shit like can't, and even like regular art and stuff definitely cannot. So but I agree with you in the main that I think this is something to be wary of, that I think companies can and very likely will abuse this. The idea of, yeah, we're gonna have only 10,000 of these skins available in the first 10,000 purchases, and that's it, and we're never gonna have it again. They're gonna do shit like that, and then they're gonna have the skin again later, like 6 months later, they're gonna run that skin again and fuck the whole market up. But then also you have artificial scarcity as well. Like the thing is, like Dota, as far as I know, has never done anything like that. The international skins that they make are like high quality skins that have like different animations for attacks and stuff like that for character abilities. And they tend to have a fairly high value, a lot of them, and they retain their value most of the time over time. And but they know that, and they've never like made them artificially scarce. They always, through the length of the event, you can get as many as you want. You can, for the most part, like you can buy the packs or whatever, and you earn as many as go into the ecosystem. That's as many as go into the ecosystem. There's no limit. Like they don't limit it or anything like that, even though they could conceivably. What they do is they limit the amount of time they're available for, which is the much more equitable, fair way to do it, in my opinion. That I prefer, to be honest, and I think that should be how it's done going forward. But yeah, so it's I don't know. I think this is interesting. I'm gonna keep track of it for sure, and I think if you're into crypto, it's definitely something to look at. But I don't think it's inherently bad just by itself. I think the bad part of it is the way companies decide to use it. So we'll certainly see on that front. But there's definitely a devil's advocate here. It's just unfortunate that Ubisoft is in such a bad place right now that they can't really do anything right. Like that trailer they had for it was just a fucking joke. It was like laughably bad, like
yeah.
and it was like inherently a memeable thing, and it was just going to get memed, and people hate NFTs right now anyways. So you say the word NFT and people just have this negative reaction to it automatically, so I don't think there's a
Well,
fair
it's because that
conversation happening
people,
around this. So
well, with good reason. A lot of people, a lot of like crypto bros,
mhm.
what they call them, are stealing artists' stuff and making NFTs out of them.
Mm,
So that's where it's it's going down, and that's why it's looked bad because
mhm.
they're just going on the internet, going on Twitter, going on these people's sites where they're commissioning stuff,
Yeah.
and they're just stealing it and making an NFT out of it. I mean, now there has been legislation against it now. It falls under the Copyrights Act, but before when it first came out,
Yeah.
people it was free game. Like people were just stealing stuff and say like if you make like a cool little original character, dragon character or whatever, somebody can just like copy and paste it and then make it turn into an NFT and sell it, and they get thousands of dollars off of it.
Yeah, but dude, the idea of an NFT in general, like that kind of NFT, is literally a scam, anyways. Because what, it's just what I don't understand about it is like, it's like you could just like that image, you could literally just like take a picture of it or a screenshot of it, and bang, you have it. It's like, okay, what's like
Yeah,
special about it,
and a lot of people have like pointed that out, and I think
Yeah.
that's why the whole NFT thing is stupid, or why people think it's stupid. Now, I agree with you to a certain extent. It is cool in video games that if I buy this skin, then it is my purchase, and I can sell that skin to you. If you're like, "Hey, Montreal,
Mhm.
I really like that skin. Um, can I buy it from you?" And I'm like, normally I'll sell it for $50, but for you, I'll sell it for $20 or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Right.
Um, so like I think that is cool. I just think it's a very, very dangerous game because I
It
don't know
is.
how they're going to regulate the scarcity of these skins,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and that's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about bots. all that shit. Like it's just,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's
Right.
gonna get bad really fast. So I mean, hopefully it doesn't. That's just my pessimistic brain working.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know how deadly capitalism can be. Sometimes it can be good, but it can also be bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just have to wait and see.
Well, yeah, last point about this is that a lot of the issues we just brought up, like video games kind of inherently solve because most video game skins are only valuable within the game they're in,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
no one's gonna be interested in a screenshot of a skin from a video game, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like nobody's gonna want to buy that. So it's like it is an interesting sub market of this whole NFT thing that it just fits a lot better in video games to me than a lot of other things. So, but that's the last I'll say on it. All right, Montrell, let's move on. That was a good NFT discussion, Montrell. Very good. We got 3 questions from our boy, that dude, and we're going to answer them right now. So, first question, Montreal. Do you think game reviews in today's age are necessary?
That's a good question. Yes and no,
Mm,
or yes, but with circumstances.
mm,
With a little asterisk there, but no.
mm-hmm,
I think there needs to be. I think we discussed this earlier, like way like a couple months ago, actually. But say
mm-hmm,
like we're reviewing Forza, right?
yeah.
Or a major company is reviewing Forza.
Mm-hmm,
Either you hire a YouTuber who specializes in racing games,
yeah.
or you hire a writer who specializes in racing games, so that those fans can know what to expect out of that. I don't want someone who normally plays Crash Bandicoot reviewing Forza. I'm not even
Yeah.
a race car fan because they might not understand the intricacies of what a racing game entails, like what racing game players look for. You know,
Right.
um, so I still think reviews are necessary. Um, the one thing I want to just go away is the embargo thing. And
Mm, yeah.
but I, or if you're gonna have the embargo, I think game companies should have the embargo for a week after the game is released, so that it forces like creators and reporters and journalists and stuff like that to actually play the game
Mm,
and learn the game. They get an extra week to actually do a deep dive, how we do on our games, because we play games. Me and you play games, we review it. We do like a 3 hour review because I think Tales of Arise is one of those games where we were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." It's okay. Oh my fucking god, it sucks. Like we went through that
yeah.
phase,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I don't think a lot of other when I look at reviews and by the way, spoiler alert, Tales won RPG of the year. But
Oh, fuck off, dude. You're kidding me. Are you kidding me? God damn it, man. Like, I can't with video games, man. What a fucking joke, bro. Guys,
uh,
guys, guys, get better taste. I'm sorry. Straight up. Like, oh, God.
it
But
went over Shin Megami Tensei. It did win over that game.
yeah. I mean, I haven't played Shin Megami Tensei, but it's probably better.
Yeah, most likely 100% probably better. But uh, I mean that's a good example though. I feel like that game, um, if people had enough time to play it and they played it on like they went back and played it on a hard mode or they started in hard mode, because I'm pretty sure a lot of reviewers and stuff, just from time constraints and stuff like that, they had to get the game out, so they just played it on normal easy mode. But me and you went into it on hard mode because we're already familiar with Tales games, and I'm not saying it's the worst Tales, but it definitely ain't the best Tales. It is a breath of fresh air from the last couple of Tales games we had. I'm glad they took the like
Hmm.
2 or 3 years off to make this
Yeah.
game, and there's definitely stuff that needs to be improved on it. So I'm glad we got the Tales game. It's a good Tales game, no doubt. But is it RPG of the year Tales? Is it? I mean, to be honest, competition was pretty weak this year.
Yeah.
But that game's a solid 6 for me, 6 or 7.
Right.
Um,
That's
6
not our
some
review
days,
here.
yeah, it's a solid 6 for me. 7 on other days, 6 when I just think about it. And it's just because the game overstays its welcome. So I mean, just to get back on track, like that's what I think game reviewers should do. I think there should be an overhaul of the review system. I
Mm-hmm.
think games like Battlefield, right?
Yeah.
They come out trash, and yeah, you review the shit out of it, and you're like, man, this game is fucking ass. 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, and then a year later, we go back to the game, which a lot of YouTubers do. They like Battlefield so far, or I jumped back into Battlefield the other day and stuff like that, and it's usually like like a campaign promotion or something like that provided from the company, like, hey, we fixed the game. Can YouTubers like review it again and whatever? And I think that's okay. But I think that should be a standard now, especially for live service games. I think uh live service games should have live service reviewing. There should be always someone constantly reviewing the game and updating the score. Um
Mm.
I mean that may sound like a hot take, but I think that's what they need to do. I think one of the most underappreciated genres or most hard to judge genres are MMOs. Uh you can't finish those in a week. You have to
Mm.
get the full experience out of it, and
Right.
yeah, I just think there just need to be a whole revamp of reviewing. I don't know
Yeah.
what you think.
Well, so yeah, I was gonna bring up. So Tails is a good game to bring up, but I was gonna bring up. You remember when IGN started doing reviews in progress, specifically for like MMOs, a lot of the time, but they started doing it for other kind of games too. At some
Yeah,
point, and I remember how much people hated them at first. But to me, I feel like IGN was kind of had their finger on the pulse of something there that game reviews aren't sufficient as they are, and I in large part agree with Montrell on this. That I just think the whole system needs to be revamped. Like it just doesn't work for modern video games. I'm sorry, like maybe it never worked for games, and it's just the wrong way to do this. But to me, like a Tales of Arise is a great game to bring up because he's totally right. Like when you read a review, right, you get the final thoughts of somebody's view on a game, right? So if me and Montreal had never talked about Tales of Arise until the very end of it, you would think that we hated the game, like it was a fucking terrible game and it was awful the whole time. The benefit of talking about the game week after week is you kind of got to see how our mentality towards the game and how we felt about it changed over time as we played through it more, you know. And I think that's lost in the way reviews are done, you know, where it's just you literally finish the game and you write, you know, fucking, I don't even know, like 750 words on it or 1,000 words maybe on it. And that's the review, you know, that's it. And it's like, I just don't think it's, and then you put like a numbered score on it. And I just don't think it's a very good way. It just doesn't like really convey enough to me. And I think the biggest problem I have with the system right now is that it just kind of feels like a marketing vehicle nowadays at this point. I really don't find a lot of value inherent in reviews most of the time anymore because I don't really read them at all because I tend to go more towards video reviews because at least they're more fleshed out generally.
yeah,
And they're able to give like video examples sometimes of what they're talking about, which is, you know, it has a little bit more analytical value to it. To me, it feels like the whole embargo thing is these like companies, these media companies rather, chasing embargoes, and YouTubers are part of this cycle as well. Even like guys like Skill Up, right? They're trying to hit an embargo. They want to make sure they hit the embargo so that they're part of the fucking zeitgeist or whatever the fuck, you know. It's this whole bullshit hype cycle that game companies have created themselves in order to add additional hype to their fucking games, you know. And no offense to any of these influencers and media, but they play right into it. Like they don't even remotely try to not play into it, they straight up play into it. So while they're not actively going out of their way to promote a game, they're literally doing promotion of the game by doing this stuff. And so to me, like, and it's something I've thought about with this podcast, right? Like let's say we get big enough to the point where, you know, publishers start wanting to send us games for free. Like, do we even accept them? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, and let's say we do accept it. Are we going to review it just because we were sent a game? And and if we do that, are we going to try to hit the embargo? Like, I don't know how I feel about all that. I don't really think it's appropriate necessarily. Like, it feels like there's an inherent conflict of interest there, of a
Yeah.
company giving me a game for free, asking me to review it, and then I give my thoughts on it. It's like, yeah, above the surface, it's probably all in the up and up, and everybody's, kind of being okay. There's no like bias happening there, but below the surface, it feels really like uncomfortable to me to do that. You're almost inherently like giving yourself a bias because you've got the game for free from the people who made it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Not to cut you off, but there was
No, go
one
ahead.
game that I remember someone. He was a small YouTuber, but he was a part of a larger YouTuber like friend group. So like he had a lot of runoffs from his friends or from that guy,
Hmm.
and he did an early review of, or not an early review, but like an early preview of Mass Effect Andromeda, and
Yeah,
he was praising it up like, man, they flew me out there, and they did this and they did that, and I think the game's actually okay. I think it's okay. I think it's a really good game, and blah, blah. And then the game came out, and we all know how that turned out.
yeah,
But
right.
that is one example of what you're saying. So I just wanted to like show how what you're saying applies to the real world as far as like influencers getting free games, because
Hmm.
that bias effect does, or that
Well,
confirmation bias does take effect
and
sometimes.
influencers affect people's like purchasing decisions. I see it all the time on comments of like skill ups videos and whoever the hell. You know, it happens all the time, dude. Like, people legitimately are influenced by the people they watch. If eventually we're big and we have an audience, if I say like the next Xenoblade Chronicles is the greatest fucking game I've ever played, I imagine that's going to cause some people to go buy it, because they have similar sensibilities to me, and that's influencing them, and
Mhm.
that isn't inherently wrong, but there is a point where it crosses a line where somebody does what you were talking about, what you just said, where they are intentionally like hyping up the fact that they were given the game and that the company did all this shit for them, and then they're hyping the game up when it's actually not that great of a game. They're kind of like fibbing a little bit. They might not be telling the whole. They're not might not being honest about their opinion on the game. And that is where you start getting into really slippery territory, to me. So that's why I wouldn't even. I'm like, part of me debates like, do I even want to be in that position where that's a possibility that might happen to me or you? And I don't necessarily think so, So that's how I feel now. It might change. I don't know. I mean, who knows? When we're talking about something that might not have actually happened, who fucking cares? But it's something
Yeah.
to consider, though, for sure. And I think it's wrapped up in a larger conversation about video game reviews in general, though. Is that I think it needs to be innovated on in some way. Like, I think the way the industry does this right now is not the most effective, So, all right, next question. Given the releases of games this year, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate the year 2021 for quality? Do you want to go first?
2021 for quality has been great value quality. Like if I went to Walmart,
Yeah.
um, and I didn't want to buy Doritos, and I bought Ritos, um, great value Doritos. That's
Yeah.
what 2021 has been for me.
Oh man. Yeah.
But I continue to do that, and then I find a brand, the great value brand, that's actually better than the original brand. Like
It
that, maybe
happens.
like it happens. Like that's like the Metroid Dread, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I'm thankful we got that game this year because that game was
Mhm.
really fucking good. Um, and then I'm assuming like for other people, I haven't played it yet, but like Shimigami Tensei
Mhm.
and some other one-offs, and like it actually this year, you know what this year forced me to do?
Yeah.
Invest in indies, and that's what I actually been doing, and
Mm.
I'm actually
Mhm.
having a good time. I just bought Death's Door and some this one little stick fighter game, and then like this one game called Police Stories. Um, and I'm having a load of fun with those games, especially like the multiplayer ones,
Yeah.
like Police Stories and Stick Fighters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, but Death's Door is really good too. So it forces me to look outside the triple A and double A stratosphere, and I was looking at indies and Hades as well, even though I consider that like kind of mainstream now. Um, that is mainstream now, but it deserves it though. It's a really good fucking game.
Mhm.
So oh, and then we got like the Avengers, which was I'm sorry, not the Avengers, but Guardians of the Galaxy, which I said is like the Metroid Dread. It's a really good game. It was stuck in a pile of trash.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it's been some weak releases this year. Or for me, it's been some weak releases, but it's caused me to go outside the box. I would never would have played Scarlet Nexus, never would have played Death's Door, never would play, or I would have played Metroid Dread, regardless of the fact what was coming out. Um, I never would have even considered buying Guardians of the Galaxy. So
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
made me. I think these kind of years are necessary because it makes you look for other shit. But it was, whew, boy, that beginning of the year was tough for me. It was real tough.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm with you largely. I think I'd give the year like a, I don't know, like a 4 probably. It hasn't been a great year. I mean, you guys have heard me. I've had multiple stints of time this year where I either haven't gamed or I've been playing things that are old or I've been playing. I went on a 3 month sojourn into MMO land for the year. That's because I've been bored with games. Like the new releases this year just were not very appealing. And the ones I played, a lot of them have been disappointing, Like Bravely Default 2, that game was, it was decent, I guess. Like Monster Hunter Rise was disappointing. Tales of Arise was disappointing,
Damn, I forgot Monster Hunter Rise came out this year.
Yeah, man. It's just been a largely not a great year for games. I think we're gonna look back on this year. It's definitely gonna be the worst year of the generation. I think that's easy to say. But this mirrors last generation because 2014 was the worst year of last generation as well. And that was the first year of the console release. It's just this is really typical with these consoles nowadays. The first couple of years of the PS3 and Xbox 360 life cycle were also really bad. Like the only like you'd have to go back to GameCube, PS2, and Xbox as the last time we really had good games in the first like year or two of the consoles coming out. It just seems to be a thing now for the most part. And I'm not saying everything was bad. There were definitely good games in here this year, but next year though is gonna probably blow this year out of the water. Like it's like not even gonna be fucking close.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of the way I feel about it. So, yeah, not the best. All right, Montrell. Last question, and then we'll head out of here for the day. What are you looking forward to most in 2022 so far?
I'm really looking forward to the month of February. A lot of games I want is coming out
Mm,
that um so
mm.
yeah.
I'm with.
And there's a lot of holiday games coming out, like Sonic's coming out next
Mhm.
holiday.
Yep.
So 2022, I'm just looking forward to a lot of good games that we've been deserving, and
Hmm.
hopefully, like a uptick in people getting their hands on consoles. I really want
Yeah.
people to experience like PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Um,
Yeah.
I actually don't want that to be gatekept. A lot of people are gatekeeping, and we're joking about it, but um, I want people to get off the older consoles.
Right.
Uh, Cause like this is an anecdotal story. I know we're talking about this, but I had a friend and she was like, "Oh, her old PS4 died or something like that. I don't know." So she went on Mercari and offer up to look for a PS4 to buy, and someone was selling like a old Destiny 2 fucking console. Right? Because she
Hmm.
really likes Destiny. So I was like, cool. She's like, oh, they're selling it for like 175, and I thought that was decent. I said you could probably get it for 150. But 175. So
Hmm.
she got it for 175, which is not bad for like a limited edition console, Destiny or whatever.
Right.
Um, the problem we were having was controllers. Fucking ridiculous. To find an official PlayStation 4 controller, not a third party one, $75. And
Man.
like at fucking GameStop, at Best Buy,
Yeah.
Amazon. I'm like, what the actual fuck? we were able to find them for like $40 on Mercari and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But those controllers should be like $20 now. I'm like, the PS5 is out. What the fuck? And I thought about it. Not a lot of people have PS5s yet. So
Well, the other thing is the PS5 controller is not compatible with PS4, so it's inherently not like it's inherently now a niche product. Weirdly enough, so they kind of get away with that. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think February is a good month to call out. We got a lot of good shit in that month. Elden Ring, Horizon 2, coming in that month. But I think then we got God of War later in the year, probably Ragnarok. There's the Pokemon game Arceus coming out in January as well. I mean, we got a lot of good releases coming like early in the year. And then maybe shit like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 if that got announced tonight. Like that has been rumored to be an early 2022 game. So I'm just like I'm kind of just looking forward to next year so I can like turn the page and like get out of this funk I'm in, this like gaming funk, so I can just like kind of get back to normal. Of I think like part of my problem has been like I just kind of gotten sick of this like pressure I put on myself. I think we all do this to some degree. But this pressure I put on myself to play new games and keep up with new games and like be part of that conversation for whatever, for the show or just in general, and it's like I think I got fed up with this year because a lot of the games I played that I tried to play as a part of that zeitgeist just weren't that good,
yeah, it was a
and
really bad year to try that.
yeah, I got burned a lot of times this year on that, and I kind of just got like said, "Fuck it," I'm done with this shit. So, yeah, it's but I'm just looking forward to next year in general. I think it's gonna be a good year. Also, the Steam Deck. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it or not, but it's gonna be kind of cool to see what that thing can do, and how it works on it, like how it fits into the market as well. So we shall see. All right, Montrell. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we go today?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, fair enough. So if you like this episode, guys, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, we will be talking about the Game Awards next week. There is a very good chance that it will be the only thing we talk about next week. That might be the whole episode, to be honest. So since Montrell might be out of town, we might have a little bit of a truncated show next week. But we will have more shows for you after that every week like we normally do on Fridays. So look forward to that. All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week. Bye.